Welcome to the fourth video of ionic 2. In this video I wanted to show you about ionic CLI because I changed my mind just before I was about to start this video. The reason is because you need to actually know what a page is, what a component is, and then it's then that you really can use ionic CLI and create pages and components using ionic CLI. So what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to just start off from scratch. So in the previous videos we discussed about what are the folder structures, and where we also talked about this element called ion-nav, and that is where the Angular ionic 2 application runs. We have another file called app.ts. This is the entry point of our application. So ionic application runs from this particular file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to write this app.ts file from scratch. So basically we are going to create a component. So a component is kind of the most important part of an ionic 2 application or an Angular 2 application. And an Angular 2 application essentially contains a set of components. So you have one main component, and then you have child components appended to it. So ionic 2 is also similar to that, or it is exactly like that. So the first thing that we have to do is to create a component. So in order to create the component, we need to first import the component library, or the component class. So I'm going to import this like this. So this is how I import the component. Now the next thing, I have to create a decorator. This is a decorator function. So basically a decorator function is just another function, and it tells Angular that if there is a selector called say some element, replace it with this template. Okay, so basically what this selector does is if Angular finds an element like this, in any of the template, it will just replace that with this template. So that is basically what a component over here represents. Now a component can also exist without a selector. That is something which we'll see later on. A component is also associated with a class, so we have to write a class called myApp. Okay, now we have the component ready. So the next thing that we have to do is we have to bootstrap this component. Right now I've just declared a component, but it's not going to run because we have not bootstrapped our application. So we have to bootstrap it. So in order to bootstrap, I have to import the bootstrap function. I don't exactly remember from where this is actually imported. So one thing that you can note over here is that right now I'm trying to import the bootstrap function of Angular 2. So what Ionic team has done is Ionic team has taken this bootstrap function, and then they have kind of modified it into what is called as Ionic bootstrap, and it is actually present inside the library called Ionic Angular. So right now we have a custom made bootstrap function that is created by Ionic team. Now I'll call that function and pass in the name of the class that I want to bootstrap. So basically this is the class that I want to bootstrap, so I pass it over here, and right now our app is bootstrapped. Now another thing that Ionic Bootstrap does is it removes off the selector. So Ionic Bootstrap has defined the selector internally, and that selector will be based on this one. So ionic bootstrap will find this element and replace it with this particular, or inject this particular element into that template or that element. So over here you will find this h1 tag over here. So I'll save this and go back to ionic, and you can see that I have my hello rendered into it. So if I inspect element, I can see that there is ion app, and then inside that there is an h1 tag. So this is how our bootstrapping happens. Now the next thing that we need to do is, just by putting an h1 tag, our mobile app is not at all working. So we need a few things to be added. So the first thing that we need to add is some component. It's some component that will track us the navigation, which will help us to find which route it is moving. So for that we add another um, element called ion-nav, and then close it. Ion-nav. So this is basically kind of a navigation tracker. So whichever page it goes, it kind of tracks here. So I'll save this and then go back to our ionic app and let this reload. Yeah. So right now we don't have anything over here, but you can see that ionic app has come. Then there is an ion nav, and inside that there are a few more divs, which is actually injected by ionic. So basically that is how it tracks the history. So the next thing is we need to set a home page or a default page. So for that we have kind of three pages over here inside this application. These pages comes by default with ionic 2. So we'll set this page as a home page. So I'll open this class. It is also basically a component, has component and a component imported, and it also has a nav controller. Then there is a component declaration, that is a decorator function declare. Now you have a template URL. Now here what we did was, here we did not refer to an external URL. We just gave as a template, and it's a plain inline HTML. So here what we are trying to do is, we are not giving any inline HTML. We are trying to point this to an external HTML file. So that is the only difference over here. The next thing is obviously the class. The class name is homepage, and we have to get this class over here in our app.ts file. So what we are going to do is, we are going to import that from this is it within the same directory. So it is inside pages, oops, pages /home/home. So now you can see that I have the home page imported, but even now it's not going to load the home page. So it's blank here. What we have to do is, we have to set the root page as home page. So we need to create a variable called root page. So we can create a variable like this. I'm going to create a private variable called root page, and I'm going to declare that this variable is having a type of any. So depending on what kind of value that particular variable can hold, we can define that over here. Right now root page does not, I'm not sure about what is the kind of value that root page can hold. So I just give it as any over here. So if I were sure that it was a string value, I could have given a string over here. If it was a number, I could have given number. But right now I don't know what kind of value root page has, so I'm just giving it as any. The next thing that I want to do is create a function, or a constructor function. So I'm going to type in constructor. Yep. So constructor function is the first function that is executed when the app class, my app class is initialized. So as soon as this is initialized, this function will be executed. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take this variable and then assign home page to that variable. So the way that I'm going to access root page is like this, and then I'm going to assign home page over here. So basically what I've done is, inside, when this my app begins, the variable called root page will have the value for home page. If that doesn't really make any sense, just for the time being, understand that this home page is assigned to root page, and we are trying to link this with our navigation element over here. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a binding called root, and then assign it to this particular value over here, which is RootPage. We'll copy this and paste it over here, and we'll save this. And if we go to Ionic, then we should have a home page rendered over here. See, so this is basically how you set the home page. So I have this binding. So if you don't understand what a binding is, just for the time being, understand that the way you create a binding like this and then assign a value to it, and then there is some internal process that is happening, and that is getting the value, and it is loading the component that is registered in this particular variable. So the component that is registered is the home page, so it will go to the home page and get this template and render it over here. So this is basically how it happens. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to navigate from home page to the controller page. So you can navigate from the home page to the controller page by clicking a button, and then when you click on a button, it will take you to the contact page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a button over here and say click. So when I write this, what happens is that the home page will have a button named click. Now this is another component or a directive that is there in Ionic, and to this component you can give a list of there is like attributes that you can give, and those attributes can change the way in which a button behaves, or the way in which a button looks. For example, I can give outline over here, and this is just going to be different. So you will only have the outline, you won't have the blue color. You will get the color only when you click it. So this is what outline does. I could actually give a danger color over here. So when I give that, what happens is that the button becomes red. So if you're wondering from where this danger or from where these colors are set, it's set inside themes inside app.variables. So you have like a variable called colors, and inside that you have a primary, secondary, danger, light. Now if you want to have your own variable like my variable, you could just put it over here and give something like CF. I'm just giving an arbitrary value over here, and then I can just copy that value and then paste it over here, and this should give me a different color. So I just created a variable inside app dot variable dot css, and that variable can be called over here. So the button will have that color. So I don't like this color, so what I'll do is I'll just replace this with the favorite color. So this is so it's supposed to reload. Not sure why it's not. So this is my favorite color, green. Now another thing that I wanted to show you is I can just give in full over here, and it will just occupy the entire screen, entire width of the screen. I could just give rounded over here, and it should give me rounded button. So you can did it actually give? Just remove rounded, and let's see if it's okay. So I had some problem over here. So what we are going to do is we are going to go into Ionic docs, and then we are going to open button over here, and then you can see that okay, buttons. Okay, so you have a ton of features like this. I think I'm on the wrong page. I'll go inside components, I'll go to buttons. So this is this is where you can find button, and light means it will be something like this, And if you want to have buttons with outline, just set it as outline like this. If you don't want to have outlines, you can just clear it, so you have just the text. If you want rounded button, you can just give it as round. So the problem earlier was that it was round and not rounded. Yeah, so right now you have it as round. Now I would just keep it as full. So right now it is full with yeah. Now the next thing that I want to have is write a click function. Now okay, so basically what I've done over here is that I've registered an event called click. When you click on this particular button, it calls a function called click, which is registered inside home, which I'll have to register inside home. So I'll go and register my click function over here, and I'll give a console.log that will console so that will put this on the console. So I'll just wait for this page to reload, and then when I click, you can see that that is being consoled. So that is yet another thing. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to move from the home page to the contact page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to access the navigation controller that is there in home.ts, and using that navigation controller I can navigate to the contact page. So basically what I do over here is I do an import of nav controller. Since I've already added ion-nav over here, the navigation control will be tracking my movement from between pages. So if I want to move to another page, I can use a navigation controller and then just call the method to move to the next page. So what I'm doing over here is I'm importing that, and then I'm creating an object of navigation controller. So that object will be in this variable called nav controller. Nav control, so just a short form for this. Basically you don't have to do a nav controller like this. You don't have to new the nav controller and get an object of this. This is beautifully done using dependency injection in Angular 2, so you don't have to do that. Now you have the nav controller object over here, and using this nav controller I can just call a push method, and then pass in the name of the component that I want to load. So right now I want to go to the contact page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the contact page, and so contact page is also a component. So the name of the class is contact page. So I have to import that component into my home component. So I'll just import that from contact / contact. So if you're wondering why I put two dots over here, you can see that I'm actually inside the home folder. So I'll have to come out of the home folder. So that is what this two dots represent, and then go into the contact folder and then collect or get the contact .ts file. So I get this class and then I just push it over here, and then I'll save this. Right now you can see that I have the click button over here. When I click on this, what happens is that it moves to the next page, which is contact page, and you can see that it automatically added a back button. So this wonderful thing is actually done by the nav controller, the nav element. The nav element also is associated with the nav controller. The nav controller, this one. So basically together it will keep track of what the path is, and if it is not the home page, it will automatically add a back button, so we don't have to worry about all those stuff. So the last thing I wanted to show you is about nav control, ion-nav. Ion-nav is one of the best things of Angular so far, ionic so far. So if you look at this this diagram over here, you can see that there is an app, and inside that app is initialized, or that app is holded by this element called ion app, which is inside our index.html file. which is inside analytics.html file, and that app has an ion-nav controller. That is the one that we saw in home.ts nav controller. Okay, and that is based on this element called ion-nav. It is the one that we saw over here, and then inside that we have different pages. So you have a page 1, page 2, page 3. Now over here you can see an implementation of the same. So I can click and go to any number of pages, and the back button will come and it will keep tracking my path. So when I reach back the home page, the back button is no more there. So this is a beautiful way by which Angular has Ionic has done the back button and navigation, tracking navigation. Now there is one thing I could actually do. I could have clicked enable this swipe enable feature to true, and let's see what it does. So I've enabled swipe back, and okay, so if I swipe back, it is, yeah. If I click on this, I can just swipe back, and like you don't have to click on the back button. Like it will enable me to just swipe, and it will just put back. You don't have to click the back button. So now there is a ton of other features which I've not spoken in this video. In the coming videos we'll speak about that. In the next video we'll see how we can create a component and a page and all the stuff using Ionic CLI. Yeah, so thank you for watching this video. Do subscribe, comment if you like my videos. Thank you.